Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We've got a lot to talk about today. A lot of videos to be made, a lot of varying subjects. This one, commenter mentioned it's wildly inappropriate in episode 2 of Clayton's season of The Bachelor, which aired this past Monday, to be having these games where they do the never have I ever, and they've got to hold up the I have, I haven't, and of course the questions being never have I ever sent a nude photo. I have, I haven't. Are we shaming people for doing this? Are we just being too sensitive as an audience? Or is there just kind of some exploitation happening of people sharing information they wouldn't have otherwise wanted to share? And also, some people talk about the contracts involved. How do you fight your edit? Can you, when you sign these contracts as a contestant? So we'll get into all that in this video. And of course, as you guys probably saw from some of my videos yesterday, there's a lot of heavy topics happening, not just in Bachelor Nation, but around the world, you know, in our societies. A lot of change, a lot of just different voices to be heard. And I just want people to remember, with my channel, I believe that, first of all, I believe that we play to everyone's highest intelligence, which means there's a lot of ignorance out there, but I think we need to put it on the user, on the receiver, on the consumer of content to be able to sift through information to find their best opinion. I'm going to make a story about this Joe Rogan story on my Dave Neal show, so I don't want to go into it heavily here, but there's an article, hundreds of doctors sign open letter asking Spotify to address mass misinformation events, take aim at Joe Rogan's show, and essentially, now freedom of speech is a constitutional right that is for freedom of speech with regards to the government. When it comes to freedom of speech on platforms like Spotify or Facebook or Twitter, it doesn't exist. You can be banned if you violate terms of service. So there's essentially a petition going on that wants to make Spotify establish a clear and public policy to moderate misinformation on its platform. My view with things like this is you let good ideas and bad ideas exist. You let information exist out there and let the end consumer decide what to do with that information. You make a martyr out of people when you deplatform them. I truly believe that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people out there that stoke fear, that grift, that receive money for just spreading lies and misinformation. Absolutely, and platforms have the ability to take them off that. But you know, we need to put on our big boy or big girl pants, and as adults, really double down on how we critically think. I use the Joe Rogan story as an example. But I also mean this with information that we talked about yesterday, with allegations that exist. We need to properly discuss or be able to properly discuss allegations without shining up our pitchforks and lighting our torches and falsely or accusing people of things that they have not been convicted of. And I think it's a healthy place to have that conversation and be able to believe one side, but also use your critical thinking to not rush to conclusions at the same time, because in part of the problem with the 24-hour news cycle that we have, and again, you come off sounding like get off my porch. But one of the problems with the 24-hour news cycle is that we want instant reactions from people. Why hasn't this person responded to this? Why hasn't this person denounced their friend? This person's associated with this brand. Why haven't they done this? And it's a lot. And it's a lot for us to expect everyone to just have answers at all times. What I like to do, and I'm probably stumbling through this right now, but what I like to do on my channel is find as much information for people and let them decide what they're going to think about something. I'll share my opinion. I'll share my opinion on corruption as it exists, on fraud that exists with the PPP loans, on what I think about stalking and harassing. I'll share all of my opinions about this, but rather than tell you how to think, I want to show you, and I think, and the teachers might agree or disagree. I'm not a teacher. I don't have a degree in education. But I think when you present somebody with information and then they can make the logical connection in their brain, then they have the answers for them. Taking people off platforms, deciding to tell people how to think about something, I don't think that that force is a good way to educate. Well, with that said, we'll get into this topic here. I just wanted to mention that because it's going to be very important as we move forward with discussions, whether it be around Bachelor Nation or just life discussions in general, that we really double down on educating people on how to think critically. Now, we use that in terms that makes it look like we're all, flat earthers and conspiracy theorists. But I think it's important, whether you're on the left or the right or a nonpartisan issue, to think clearly and get all the information and don't rely on news sources whose business model is about getting you to click. including my YouTube channel. Don't rely on me for information. You can hear my opinion, triangulate that with whatever information you have, and come to your own. So the Funny Batch, an Instagram account, posted this yesterday regarding this. The ladies, if you saw this thumbnail here, were holding the paddles. I have not. It's It's a game never have ever. Kiss somebody at a zoo, and then if you do it, whatever. It's just a way. It's a way to source funny and truthful moments and shared experiences, and it's probably harmless when done at a sleepover with friends. But when it's on national TV and you're forced to say never have ever cheated, it's like, well, what's the context to that? What's the context to never have ever sent nude photos? I believe in everyone's right to send nude photos if they are intended to be sent to somebody who wants them. Put that out there. I understand that this is a funny page, but I also like to be authentic here as well. I have a lot to say. I have a lot that I can say, but I'll try to keep it brief. Having women answer on national television if they have sent nude photos is not acceptable. It's wildly inappropriate, and it's not protecting women. Add to this that I believe bringing up Cassidy's sexual history publicly was also wildly inappropriate and morally wrong. I'm sick of the show sacrificing humans' mental stability and reputations for one moment of entertainment. Sure, they sign up for it. It doesn't make it right. This is a conversation that I feel strongly is needed in the franchise. Once these people are in the Bachelor Nation machine, they are unable to share experiences, and even after their contract is up, most of these people are terrified of going publicly against such a large franchise. These might be wannabe influencers to you, but they are not. They are someone's daughter, and they are worth protecting. Now, hold on to that last line there. They're someone's daughter, and they're worth protecting. We'll talk about that in a second. The next post was someone who commented sort of the behind the scenes of the contracts that these contestants are under. Even after your contract is up, you can't contradict anything the show said or talk about anything that didn't make the airwaves. People need to be aware of this as well. The contract just says when and where you can talk. Once the 1 year time period is up, they can't control that aspect, but what you can say about the show and its production is controlled for all of time, unless you want to pay $25,000 plus. It's all really quite effed up. And yes, they're on top of things and fire off cease and desist letters rather quickly. We already know there must have been at least 2 cease and desist letters that were sent out this season from contestants. And we wonder in Cassidy's situation if she's going to be sued because she essentially spoiled the next episode and had since deleted that post, but we'll have to see if they give her a warning or if she's actually sued. We know Luke P was sued $25,000 for each appearance on podcasts, which ended up being 4, which is $100,000. And I believe he also had to pay $20,000 in court fees to the Bachelor team and ended up costing him $120,000. I don't know if he ever paid that or if they ever tried to collect it, but that's what the judge agreed to, is $120,000. So for a company that Bachelor that profits very much off of creating storylines based off these characters, it makes us wonder, to tie it back in, while we want to make sure that the producers are held accountable, they don't fly too close to the sun, when it comes to how they deal with storylines here with regards to Brittany Galvin, being accused of being an escort. The show aired that conversation out and teased it for weeks or two before actually snipping that rumor. Now, the question is, can we change the way everyone thinks about these reality TV stars? Can we? No, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I work in show business, because I've worked behind the scenes and on camera and behind the camera on scripted TV and reality. But I think a lot of people don't realize what you see is not actually what's going on. And there's more context to that. Take, for instance, Victoria Larson. Now, while we were tough on her when she was saying what she said and the words came out of her mouth, we don't always take into account that they're sleep deprived, that they've been drinking, that everything's just slightly off, that they're in pressure cooker situations. So when we have someone like Claire Crowley who seems to be yelling at all the men, we don't talk about the putting an introvert in a situation that's got this heightened sort of fight or flight mode. So there's all these issues that we have a hard time grappling when we watch something, including, on the other end, people like Greg Grippo, who's accused of gaslighting and doing all these malicious things, when in fact he's a guy that probably needs just some help. He probably needs some help and therapy that he's getting for trying to understand who he is. And anyway, the show prints money because it puts people in this psychological experiment that creates heightened drama. And I like to look at Nishi, right? Beyond good and evil. And this is just the idea that there's no that there really isn't true good and true evil. Philosopher Nietzsche covers this idea in some of his work. So let's just get to it. In Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche accuses past philosophers of lacking critical sense and blindly accepting dogmatic premises in their consideration of morality. So when Nietzsche talks about past philosophers, let's talk about you and I. Let's talk about the consumer of Bachelor Nation, the ones that watch the show and fire off our responses, right? We are the ones that lack critical sense and blindly accept premises that there's villains on the show. We accept the premise that Olivia's a villain because she was overly confident on, I believe, Ben Hagen's season. Was that it? It's just so long ago. They leave her on a sandbar. So we accept these premises as like a final product. And we need to appreciate the theater and the drama that's involved around Bachelor, but really do a better job before we fire off responses and hate me, even to people like Piper and Brendan. And you know what? Grace needs to be bestowed onto people like Yosef, even the people that they themselves might not admit whatever damning thing that they have said. Anyway, he accuses them of founding grand metaphysical systems upon the faith that the good man is the opposite of the evil man, rather than just a different expression of the same basic impulses that find more direct expressions in the evil man. The work moves into the realm beyond good and evil in the sense of leaving behind traditional morality, which Nietzsche subjects to a destructive critique in favor of what he regards as an affirmative approach that fearlessly confronts the nature of knowledge in the perilous condition of the modern individual. So look, you don't come here to read about Nietzsche, but it's the challenge that we face as we evolve as humans to get better at critically thinking, to understanding that someone like Joe Coleman might not be pure evil, nor is he pure good. But somewhere along the line, we use him as an example, allegedly, if he committed accusations that are against him, that whatever situation he was in, he did not do good in that situation. And there are ramifications for it. It's not to say that you let somebody off the hook for it. It's just to say people do bad things. People make mistakes, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be held accountable for it. But although, I'll tell you what, when you say that out loud, people will clip that. Dave says people make mistakes. No. Hear me out. There's a lot that we can learn from by watching the show, by using the case studies of mistakes people have made, and using the human condition to sort of break down how we can all better evolve. I just think we have one of the biggest problems in our society is lack of critical thinking when it comes to getting our news and confirmation bias. And even on shows like this, when it comes to not exactly receiving the news in like a political way, but receiving the news on like, who's the good guy? I root for that guy. Who's the bad guy? Look, that's the enemy. And we sort of resort ourselves to these primal conditions. So when Funny Batch said they're all someone's daughter and they're worth protecting, they got some blowback. And I understand it's the idea of saying like, oh, don't talk to her like that. That's someone's daughter. It comes off a little wrong. I'll read a quick clip here. I totally understand what people's message is trying to be. I'm not someone's sister, mother, wife, or daughter. I'm someone all on my own. She is someone's sister, mother, daughter, wife. Imagine how you would feel if someone did that to a woman you cared about. This is probably one of the most common arguments against abuse and harassment. Men are often shamed into behaving themselves and treating women like human beings by being told that the girl they are thinking of disrespecting is someone else's sister, mother, daughter, or wife. The point is to make them think of how they would feel if someone disrespected their own sister, mother, daughter, or wife. I'm sure everyone who advocates this argument has their heart in the right place. Their intentions is to make the victim more relatable, but what they usually forget in the process is that women are people too, and their value does not lie in their relation to a man or another woman for that matter. Which I totally agree on. I think people, when they say like, oh, that's someone's daughter, what they're trying to do is create an empathic connection. So there's plenty of people that can only empathize with someone that looks like them, whether it be eye color, color of skin, or even socioeconomic reasons. Like if you're a working class person, you might not be able to empathize with the struggles of somebody who's wearing the suit in the office or the janitor below you. It's hard to empathize, and I think the idea of like, hey, that's someone's daughter is just saying, hey, let's treat that as like a human, create a bridge as to why you should care about them. And I understand the how it's problematic. I think this person does a good job of saying their heart's in the right place, but this is why it's wrong. And I think we need to be okay with that, criticizing things where, oh, so-and-so's heart's in the right place, but this is why it's wrong. So we'll read a couple of the comments regarding, and again, you're gonna have to forgive me for not being, I don't know, more professional in the way I rant about these topics, but some of these are very hard to talk about. Very hard to talk about. And rather than try to thread the needle with perfection, I'm just trying to show up. I'm trying to show up and continue these conversations because I understand that a lot of people are paralyzed by the idea of needing to have a perfect statement on things. We live in a society where social media is perfection, and we're expected to just push out these perfect thoughts, and I don't think the human brain really works that way, and I think we need to be okay with it. Why, for some people, when they want to convince people to have empathy towards women, do they have to frame it as they're someone's daughter? For example, it feels weirdly infantilizing, but why isn't it enough to have empathy for women because we're women who deserve empathy and respect just like everyone else? Yep, no, and that we covered that already, absolutely. For sure, Sam Jeffries' bathtub girl got a cease and desist or a warning when she shared what happened on night one in her Instagram post, so she erased her whole caption. I hope they sue Cassidy for Instagram stories for spoiling what happens to her and Clayton, though she has deleted those stories as well. Maybe they get a warning first, like, hey, delete this within the hour. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Someone said, is it a concern that people might try to find the nudes of these women? Because I think it's a little old-fashioned to think having nude photos somewhere is shameful. Old-fashioned is already a toned-down way to describe the core fan base of the show, though. So I guarantee that a lot of them think sending nudes is unacceptable behavior for women. So yeah, the idea being that the show has such a broad market that it reaches people on completely different political spectrums and moral spectrums, from people that believe in waiting till marriage to have sex, to people that believe in doing whatever the hell you want with your body, and the respect that comes with either one of those opinions. It's interesting to talk about on the channel because we all come at it from different places. So anyway, let me know what you think. Is it wildly inappropriate to have these sort of games played on the show, or do we need to do a better job of letting them do what they want and not rushing to judgment on our end? Would love to hear what you guys have to say. Of course, if anyone wants to leave a voicemail, 401-213-9828. I'll try to play some of your voicemails at the 5 o'clock phone call that I'll do later on today. We do have a 2 p.m. live stream that is still scheduled for today. That's Pacific time, 2 p.m., 5 p.m. East Coast time. If any of that information changes, I'll let you guys know, but that's where we are today, and I will talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye now.